pleasure to introduce Loz Gordon.
Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, three fathers, and I know this one is as well, and distinguished guest, the gentlemen of 57, 67, 77, and the old salts that won't let go. Well done. Thank you. Now, I don't know about you, whether you've ever been set up, but I've got a sneaky feeling that I've been set up today. During the week, I had 3 emails from funeral directors. I've now got one of my former pupils who's changed ship with 2 other people that have come to, I think, I've not been told, it's not confirmed, but I think they've just come to keep an eye on me because they know something I don't. However, the sun's out. I remember distinctly one side of college life was out on the green watching the athletics on a summer evening. And I really enjoyed it, particularly watching one of the stars that was around when we were at college, a guy called Johnny Mason who never ever lost 100 metres, or 100 yards then, and he actually beat Peter Radford, would you believe, in a former life. Secondly, the metronomic running round the track of Peter Lever, who trained with Ron Hill, who was formerly of Bolton United. And then finally, one of the star nights would be watching Dave Hudson get his leg over. I have to add, for those of you that don't know, Dave Hudson was a high jumper, just in case. And that's where we start. My own life started in Sheffield in 1945, October. Just feels like 1845. And I was born in Jessop's Hospital. Now I mention that because that will be my wind-up at the end. And my father, eventually, he packed up mines and he came down to South Derbyshire, to a place called Mickleover, just south of Derby, where I went to junior school. Then I went on to John Port Grammar School. Close. I'll talk to you later. I've still got my white coat. And we went off to, well, I had to look. I had a fantastic PE teacher in school, and I'd been lucky enough to play county football, county cricket, and I played county basketball. And I ended up at Loughborough, would you believe? And I went in for an interview, and a guy there called Stamatakis, who'd won the Greek discus thrower in '48. It's a long time, you might remember that. he actually said to me when I got there, sorry, we don't need any more games players. What do you like at gymnastics? I came down here on interview. I won't tell you what I said to him, there are ladies here. And I came down on interview to St Peter's, and I was met by a guy called Dave Town, who was my chaperone for the day, where I went and was interviewed by the Reverend Murray. Remember him? Not like you guys. And the Reverend Murray interviewed me, and a fortnight later I got a letter to say that I'd got the post. At the time, 63, I bet you don't remember, but the Beatles were at #1 with She Loves You. I arrived here in September. I queued up at the Porter's Lodge, I got my case. I was still a gentleman then. I'd had 8 weeks in the dining room, at Edinburgh dining room in Butlins, which was a fantastic training for coming here, I can assure you. I ended up in the Porter's Lodge. As a gentleman, I got my piece of paper to verify who I was, and I was waiting at number 6 in the queue when somebody said to me, I know you. Well, somebody said that. I didn't know it was me at the time. I know you. And I got a tap on the shoulder and I turned around. There was this big smiling face. The name's John Mitchell. He's now my brother-in-law. It cost me a lot of money, I'll tell you. Anyway, we played football against each other on Boxing Day 1963. And he played for Warwickshire and I played for Derbyshire. We lost 4-3, but he reminded me, and I tell him every day, every time I see him, I stuck 3 past him that day. I got to number 2 in the queue, and I've still not got yet to the porter, and I've still got my identification there, and I know you. And we know what's coming because he sat just there. Dick Grogan, fabulous guy. These 2 guys, I would eventually go on a special study to Greece to study Greek education.
Oh no.
Or was it to taste the grapes? Anyway, that was my introduction. Bobby Upton picked me up then, took me to Middle South, where I met these reprobates down here.
Yeah.
And Middle South, I don't know whether you remember in those days, it was a few new students, and then at the far end, the noise from the, what were they called then, the radio, transistor radios, they've not long been out, turning up, and it was a fantastic time to be in this college. And I have to say, if I can just pause there and be political, I cannot for the life of me understand why they ever shut down the training colleges, because you came here to learn how to teach. Jack Butcher spoke the eulogy at Steve Allett's funeral. Steve Allett taught me more about teaching than anybody else has ever done before or since. That's why I came here. I spent 4 years part-time at Birmingham Uni doing a couple of degrees. And I never saw anybody in the education department turn to somebody and say, look, if you go into the classroom and you stand in the middle, you are going to be doing this. Wait, be quiet. What you're stand here, you see the lot. Ever so simple, that was one basic teaching technique that Steve told us when we were learning to teach PE. However, I digress. From there, I came in, and as I said, the first fortnight, I had never ever seen so much corduroy in my life. Black cords, grey cords, blue cords. I wore pinstripe, I was posh. And it was at the same time that the Kinks, I don't know why they ever called them the Kinks, but they were singing You Really Got Me, and I was really had by this place here. Secondly, in that first fortnight as well, if you smoked, it was like being at one of these American venues where you go and you have all the pipe smokers turn up. Everybody that was smoking, at least half of them at least, were walking out with a pipe. And if you hadn't got a pipe and you smoked, you were, well, it seemed to be a qualification to be a school teacher. Anyway, new books. I was foolish enough to buy new books. What should I have done? I should have gone to the year above and said, hey, come on. How much? What? £1 instead of 10? Wow! Never got that far. It was money out the window because, did you open them? I don't know. and then as we graduated, we got used to following Dick Grogan down to the college cafe. Have you got sixpence? Pinball wizard he was. Yeah. Absolute pinball wizard. You do remember. And the sausage sandwiches went with it as well. But after that, it was have a look around the schools. When you had a look around the schools, well, that was fun. It wasn't exactly what we were here for, but by the same token, the second term and the third term would take care of that. Christmas came ever so quickly in that first term. We'd had the trials for various sports. We'd been here, there and everywhere. We'd done everything we wanted. And at the end of that first term, I was absolutely riveted in what we called the smoking concert. Why? 3 events that year, 64, stood out more than any other. Dave Savage. Yep. Have you ever come across him? If you haven't, he did the spitting contest. Yes. Wow. Oh, God. I was in heaven. Why? Because he missed me. Secondly, the R.I.P., good mate of mine, Nigel Webb. He sang Fever better than Peggy Lee. But the piece de la resistance was Dick Jones, who took off PJ Proby. There's a place for... He did it better than him. If you remember PJ Proby, then that's what Dick Jones did, better than PJ Proby, and he never split his trousers. we were then into the second term, and of course there were visits. You go to a school, you sit there, you write up aims, all this, that and the other, and you never ever saw a tutor teach, did you? You never saw a tutor teach, but you were up there doing the same. And then we progressed very quickly. In the Easter holidays, my grandma spoilt me, she bought me a scooter. I might say it was a motor scooter, not like the ones the kids have nowadays. And I had a Lambretta. He had a Vespa. He had a Lambretta. And where's Cookie? He was a passenger. Cookie was a passenger because we had a couple of friends in Harborne. I hope they're not there tonight, eh? What do you think? Anyway, so there we are, scooting around, having a fantastic time. I did TP at a little place called Turpitts Lane off the Shorteath Road with a guy called Fred Almey. This was 1965. Fred Thompson's Pigeon, remember it, Dave? Where's David? Fred Thompson's Pigeon, it was the book I had to read to the kids. Every time I see a pigeon now, I think it's Fred Thompson's. But that's beside the point. Fred Almey, in 1965, had the experience. He was the deputy head. He was my mentor while I was in the school, and he actually turned around and said to me, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to teach. Are you going to teach junior? Are you going to teach secondary? I said, well, I've enjoyed this, but I've really come to teach secondary. I said, why? What did you used to do before you taught? I was a Lancaster bomber pilot in 1945. 20 years ago from where we are now, 1997. It's not long, is it? 20 years from his life, I was a big sheet out. Anyway, second year came, and I was in Upper North this time, for a short time. They know what's coming. I actually, in the middle of the term, I developed ringworm on my tongue, bad pork. And I was off practicals, and I was off everything. And I can remember, with my scooter, I used to meet a young lady to have a conversation with at the back of Middle South, where most of the scooters. Well, I say, but you see, the thing, you're laughing now, you're going to laugh even more. It was the VP's younger daughter. So when I ended up with this, and on a very particular cold day in the beginning of December, all my mates came and chucked the bags in the room and went off to lectures, except for one, Fat Harris. He decides he's going to stay. I don't want to go to history today. And he lay at the back end of my bed with his head down the bottom end and his feet stuck up my nose. 9 o'clock every morning, matron. Matron opens the door and goes, oh, Mr. Gordon, and ran off. 2 hours later, I'm up before the Prin, yeah. Mr. Platten, Canon Platten, who's saying, I've got to send you home. I thought, I've got to send you home. So me and Bill went, you what? You're having a laugh, aren't you? I think, well, that was the interpretation of what they say nowadays. And we went off. I went to get my things, a load of mates came down to the railway station with me. I ain't finished on this yet. We get there, and they're carrying my bag down. I'm going to get the train back to Derby. Who's on the other platform? Platform 9, opposite 8? The VP. What's he doing? He's meeting his elder daughter coming back from Derby Training College. QED. The following day, there was a meeting of the students. They said they'd go on strike if they didn't wipe our records clear. They wiped the records clear and we came back. When I came back, in the second year, the second term, I didn't go back to Upper North where I wanted to. I was in Littleton. Ooh. Opposite, I know it became a ladies' place, it certainly was in my day as well, anyway. Right opposite the PE lecture room. And I didn't know until I got there that I was going there that Sunday. And on the Monday morning, at 8:15, my door went. Well, I knew it wasn't Mitch, and it wasn't any of these, because I didn't think they'd been back by then. It was Steve Allett, who said, oh, it was, gonna make you a cup of coffee. And he did that for a term. If he was on earlys, lecturing, so, well, there you go. But that term I did a TP at Archbishop Bill's down the road in East Birmingham. We used to call it Archbishop Bill's, Archbishop Williams. And I was with Dave Town again. The wonderful thing about it was that one of the lads that taught, and he was in the third year when I was here, in the second year, his dad had a recording studio down in Birmingham. He said, yeah, you can come down, bring the kids down from school, so we all turned up. And I'm sure we'll remember a group called The Move. Oh my God, did they? And we went down there, we were really entertained. A couple of weeks later, The Move were on stage here. If it wasn't The Move, it could have been the Chicken Shack or the Mighty Avengers or
Zombies?
the Zombies, better than anybody. And there we were with The Move, 12:05, in his dog collar, coming into the theatre area, can platinum. Oh, Roy Wood going, laughing at him because we were supposed to be off the stage and out and everybody gone by 12 o'clock. I don't know whether it was the same in your day, but it was in our day. 12 o'clock, limit. And there were The Move playing past 12 o'clock. Wow. Anyway, it's all cleared up. And then, one thing I have missed is that January the 22nd, 1966, I was walking down the corridor with Brian Jones, who some of you may know him in connection with the Villa or whatever, and occasionally teaching. And we were walking down this corridor, and I saw this lovely lady. And we've been married for 48 years, and she is still there 51 and a half years later. And, well, love you, Avril. I should be at the bar tonight while you're driving home, I think. I don't know. I doubt it. But that was an amazing time. That year, Dick and I and John went off to do the special study in Greece, studying grapes. It should have been education, but it didn't get there. What did we do? We ran short of money. When you run short of money in Greece, there's one fast track out. Blood. Who was first in the queue? Dick, what are they doing now? What are they doing now? What are they going to do? As the guy came in, do you want a certificate? No. What do you want? £3, please. In goes the jack. Dick goes, well, it's bad. John next. My turn, Muggins. 8 students walk through the door. 8 students all want to practice on me. 8 students did. I got blood coming. It's like the Trevi fountain in, right? Anyway, we got the £3 and we finished off the holiday. Got back here. Third year, ever so quickly, straight into Sheldon Heath. Fantastic school, great time in Norman Heath, and all the people there. And last day, as usual, you go outside the head's office. You wait for the knock, or wait for the come in when you've knocked. And we went in, and there was Mr. Smith, the head. I don't know whether he got MBE, OBE, or what BE, but anyway, he walked in, he said, sit down, boys. Things, problem. So we sat down. He said, now look, before you start, I cannot understand why you're leaving before you've done your bloody A-levels. I think you've got it wrong. We're here as students. Oh, yeah? What have you been doing? I won't say it because there's an ex-head sitting just there. Do they ever know what's going on? I don't know. Anyway, that was it. Third year TP, and then into the following term, winding up with all the work, going out and finishing until I walked down the corridor. I'm not sure where it is. Education corridor. And there's, excuse me, there's John Hamlet, head of education. He's saying, come this way. What? So I go in with him and he sits down. Have you got a job? No. Where do you want to go? Somewhere around here, Birmingham. Oh, all right. Oh, look here. This is the Times Head. Is it? So there we are in the Times Head. He said, there's a school here. Would you like to go there? I went, well, yeah, Park Hall Boys, Castle Bromwich. Okay, yeah, I'll go there. On interview, I thought, well, I'll turn up anyway. Carnegie, Loughborough, me. I can't remember where the fourth one was from. I got the job. I came back and I said to him, that was fantastic, thank you very much. He said, I was at university with the head. So it does work, there's a network. Anyway, so we ended up, and then that was it. At the end of term, I decided that I'd go away. And this, I did say that I would start off, and my journey to St Peter's and beyond, that's what I told John. He's left my beer alone, but he's a good lad. And after we'd finished, graduated, and all gone our separate ways, I'd had a fantastic time. I miss this place like anything. Up until that time in my life, it was the best time I ever had. However, it got better. I went with these reprobates. They're still sat in there. Barry Corliss and Dave Hewitt, captain of rugby, captain of football. We'd all got girlfriends from Norfolk. So we went over to stay with Barry's mum in Reeford. And we stayed there, and the first week, we picked strawberries. You know the score. One for me, one for the basket. I came out like a strawberry, a million white spots all over me. But who cares? The following week, Barry had met a friend who was working on the North Sea gas pipeline. And the money was fantastic. My first month's wages in teaching, £48, 13 and 4 months.
Yeah.
We were earning £45 a week on the North Sea gas pipeline. Did I want to go to parkour boards? Anyway, we came back and we did all this, that and the other. A couple of years later, I got married. Barry got married a week before because he didn't want to come with me and Admiral, but anyway. And we all went our different ways, particularly having digged with my best man here, one of my ushers there. And we had a fantastic time. I cannot believe, teaching, yeah, absolutely fantastic. 7:30 in the morning in the gym with the kids doing gymnastics that I could never do. And all the things that we could teach them. Teaching English, teaching history, absolutely fabulous time. And then I got married. Sorry, I didn't, that's wrong. We got married. And, well, that was fine. My wife was teaching in King's Standing. She left college early instead of doing a B.Ed, a bit like we got, because when we got to St Peter's, they didn't do the DPhys anymore. They'd finished it just before. When we left, they did the B.Ed here. So we got trapped, and we were the ones, instead of being the sweetness in the sandwich, we were cast out. But it was a fantastic time to be in education. It was expanding. By the time we got into our second jobs, excuse me, I got a head a department in Chelmsley Wood. Sorry. Solihull. That's where I met the deacon. By then, his hair was down here. I reminded him today, and we were both half the weight we are now. Seriously. My wife gave birth to my little boy, Andrew, 45 now. Educationally, he's 1 year old. He was broken at birth, and that's sad. And then my daughter, Anna, she's at the other end of the spectrum. She's got a fantastic degree, unfortunately from Cardiff. Don't the Welsh keep talking? Anyway,
I have lost the voice.
All done and dusted. Wonderful time. Went to Smithswood. My head of English is there, Pete Smith. Head of physics over there, Rob Cooper. Nice to see you guys. And absolutely brilliant. Until, with my little boy not sleeping more than an hour and a half a night, I had to go to the doctors. I went to the doctors, and the doctor said to me, "You're finished, mate. Your blood pressure is 240 over 180. And he said, I don't know how you're standing, and if you don't get out now, with your problem at home, you're dead at Christmas." I got out. Difficult. I looked after Andrew for the rest of the time he was with us. We looked for a home for him. Yeah, we found a home. We found a home in Meriden, part of the Castlebeck setting. How much? Nobody in this room that I haven't told would never guess how much they wanted per week for him, 24/7. I'll tell you, £3,750 per week. I said to my wife, sorry, I've either got to start writing books or you've got to go to the back of Rackhams again. And that was all sorted, all done and dusted. And, well, for me, the rest is history. I'm still here today. I'm very lucky. I've written 3 books, had them published. I'm halfway through my 4th. 30,000 words towards holidays that were disasters. And I run a big international website for autism, which is, well, it's doing all right. It's saving, helping people that we wish the type of help we could have had with Andrew 45 years ago. So where does that leave me? Two little anecdotes, one final story. The two little anecdotes. I sometimes worry about education nowadays. I may have sent it out to some people, but I saw a piece on YouTube where a young lady was being interviewed and the interviewer said to her, "So, Marilyn, how do you like your pizza?" "I cut it into 8 pieces. "Do you eat it all?" "Oh, yeah." "Right," he said, "if I cut it into 12, would you still eat it?" "No, that's too much." And then one that we've probably all been through was when we started, you were obviously given at the one end, the same as I was, the rough end of the kids in school. And I can remember this story about a guy that got invalided out of one of the war scenarios in the Middle East, and he got a bad back and he ended up in a corset. And he decided he'd use his degree. He was a captain, retired, decided to go into teaching. So he did his PGC and he ended up at this school. Of course, the head gave him the absolute bomb pots. And he's there, and he's starting to sweat, and the sweat's tumbling off him all over. And he just, oh God. And the kids they found out he's been in the army. "Oh, you're hard, are you? You know what I mean?" And the next thing, he goes to the window, opens the window. They've all got the timetables, they're all ready to go after the first lesson. And his tie's flapping about like this. I can't have that. So he reaches over for the stapler. Takes the stapler, pins it to his chest. The kids think he's done it on his skin, but we know he's done it on his corset. He never had any problems. He never had any problems in that school again. And the last thing before I finish, I started in Jessop's Hospital in Sheffield. I went over to Australia where my daughter, you know what they're like, they want 2 years out, all the way around the world. Year in Australia, absolutely fantastic. By the time I'd done the tour and been to the cricket and done this, that and the other, I ended up in Adelaide. And I'm there one Sunday morning where my mate, who I played cricket with for years, had set up a petanque court, or whatever they call it, sponsored by a whole French firm, absolutely fantastic firm, and they got everything, absolutely everything. Dinner, we go up onto the Exeter Hotel and we're all sitting on the balcony, and from somewhere down here, somebody says, "That's not an Australian accent." And I looked at my daughter, and she said, "She means you, Dad." "Oh, yeah." "Where are you from?" And I thought, that's a bit nosy, this is. "Where are you from?" "Well, actually, I'm from the UK." "Well, I know you're from the UK. Whereabouts in the UK?" I said, "Well, originally, I was born in Sheffield." "Where were you born in Sheffield?" I said, "Well, you're nosy, old beggar." By this time, we've got a Wimbledon set up. The face of it. The face of coming back to me. And in the end, she turns round and says to me, "Tell me where you were born." "Oh, when you were born?" And I said, "October 1945. She said, "Where?" I said, "Jessop's." "Why are you asking?" She said, "I worked there as a gynaecologist in 1945. I might have delivered you." I haven't finished. So I stood up and I said, "If I showed you my bottom..." Thank you.